Have you ever tried learning earned value management and felt like you were staring at a wall of formulas and none of it made sense? You're not alone. EVM can feel abstract, especially when it's explained only with charts and math. But what if I told you we could make EVM fun and intuitive? Today, we're not just crunching numbers, we're going on a cross-country road trip from New York to San Francisco, and you are the project manager. You've planned the trip carefully, mapped the route, estimated gas, hotels, and meals. You're excited, ready, and fully in control. You estimated the total driving distance is 3,000 miles across the country with spending budget of $1 per mile, so the total budget at completion, or BAC, is $3,000. Now, let's see how this trip becomes the perfect analogy to understand earned value management. Let's imagine that by today you had planned to drive 600 miles. That's your planned value, PV. It represents the amount of work you plan to accomplish by this point. Now, in reality, things don't always go as planned. You've actually driven 500 miles so far. That's your earned value, EV, the amount of work you've actually completed expressed in budget terms. Since each mile was budgeted at $1, your EV is $500. And let's check your actual cost, AC. That's the money you've actually spent to drive those 500 miles. Maybe gas, snacks, motels, and tolls added up to $450 so far. Let's pause here for a quick recap. PV, planned value, is equal to 600 miles planned, or $600. EV, earned value, is equal to 500 miles completed, or $500. AC, actual cost, is equal to $450 spent. So on paper, you plan to be 600 miles in, but you've only driven 500 and you've spent $450 doing it. Let's check how you're performing. Now it's time to compare where you are versus where you plan to be. That's where variance analysis comes in, specifically schedule variance, SV, and cost variance, CV. Let's start with schedule variance, SV, which tells us whether we're ahead or behind schedule. The formula is SV equals EV minus PV. In our trip, SV equals 500 minus 600 equals minus 100. That means you're 100 miles behind schedule. Not terrible, but it's a clear signal you've fallen behind your plan. Now what about cost variance, CV? This tells us whether you're under or over budget. The formula is CV equals EV minus AC. In our case, CV equals 500 minus 450 equals 50. That's a positive number. Great news. It means you've spent less than planned for the work you've done. You're under budget by $50 so far. In short, you're a little behind on miles, but you've been spending efficiently. Now that we know where we stand, let's see how efficiently we're moving and spending with the performance indices, SPI and CPI. Let's start with Schedule Performance Index, SPI. This measures schedule efficiency. The formula is simple. SPI equals EV divided by PV. In our trip, SPI equals 500 divided by 600 equals 0.83. That means we're moving at 83% of our planned pace. So for every mile we plan to drive, we're only completing about 0.83 miles. In plain English, we're a bit behind schedule. Next up, Cost Performance Index, CPI, measures cost efficiency, how well we're managing money. The formula for CPI is equal to EV divided by AC. So CPI equals 500 divided by 450 equals 1.11. That means for every dollar you've spent, you're getting $1.11 worth of value. Nice, you're traveling efficiently, saving money, and stretching your budget. Let's summarize what these two indices tell us. SPI is 0.83, which is less than 1, so you are behind schedule. CPI is 1.11, which is greater than 1, so you are under budget. So even though we're running late, we're saving money while doing it. This is the beauty of EVM. It tells us two stories at once, how fast we're going with SPI and how wisely we're spending with CPI. Now, let's take it one step further. If we keep driving at this same pace and efficiency, can we predict how the rest of the trip will go? Let's find out. By now, we've got a sense of our performance, which is behind schedule but under budget. If things continue this way, what will the final cost and outcome look like? That's where forecasting formulas come in, and they're easier than you think when you imagine them as road trip scenarios. Let's start with the main one. Estimate at completion, EAC. It predicts the total cost of the project when it's done. We'll walk through 4 versions of EAC, each matching a different driving situation. The first EAC formula is EAC equals BAC divided by CPI. Use this formula when you expect your current cost efficiency to continue for the whole trip. In this scenario, you've been staying at affordable motels, grabbing budget-friendly meals and keeping things simple, and you plan to keep doing that. In our case, the BAC, budget at completion, is $3,000, and the CPI is 1.11. So, EAC equals 3,000 divided by 1.11 equals $2,703. That means if we keep driving and spending just as efficiently, we'll finish under budget by about $297. Nice job, you're on track to save money on the trip. Next, let's look at another scenario. The second EAC formula is EAC equals AC plus BAC minus EV. This version assumes early savings were temporary and you'll return to your original spending pace. In other words, you were frugal early on, but now you plan to loosen up for the remainder of the trip, maybe enjoy nicer hotels or treat yourself to some good meals. So let's plug in the numbers. EAC equals 450 plus 3,000 minus 500. This equals 450 plus 2,500, and the result is $2,950. That means you'll still finish slightly under budget by $50. You're back to a balanced approach, but spending a bit more. Let's look at another scenario. The third EAC formula is EAC equals AC plus BAC minus EV divided by CPI times SPI. This one's used when you expect your current cost and schedule performance to continue. Both matters here. It's like saying, we're still spending efficiently, but our slow progress will stretch the trip out longer. Maybe you've been stuck in traffic, taking longer rest stops, or deciding to enjoy scenic routes. You're not wasting money, just taking more time. Let's calculate. EAC equals 450 plus 3,000 minus 500 divided by 1.11 times 0.83. This equals 450 plus 2,500 divided by 0.92, 13. This equals to 450 plus 2,713.66, which equals to $3,163.66. You'll finish the trip over budget by about $164. So in this case, even though you're being cost efficient, the delay adds more total cost, maybe extra hotel nights, food, or gas. Next, let's look at the last scenario. The fourth EAC formula is EAC equals AC plus bottom-up ETC. This one is for when you replan the rest of your journey entirely. It's a fresh estimate from scratch. Let's say you decide to change the route or visit more attractions and make it a real adventure. You estimate the rest of the trip will now cost $2,800. So EAC equals 450 plus 2,800, which equals $3,250. That means you'll end up $250 over budget. But hey, you're making lifelong memories, right? This version reflects a bottom-up approach with new plan and new estimate. Now that we've seen all 4 forecasting options, let's quickly calculate 2 more handy values that help us interpret the results. ETC, or estimate to complete, is simply the remaining cost to finish the trip. The formula for ETC is ETC equals EAC minus AC. For this calculation, we will use the result from our first EAC scenario, which equals 2,703. So, ETC equals 2,703 minus 450. The result is $2,253 left to spend for the rest of the trip. And finally, VAC, or variance at completion, is the difference between your original budget, BAC, and your new forecast, EAC. So VAC equals BAC minus EAC, which is 3,000 minus 2,703. The result is $297 savings. So, if you keep performing at this pace, you'll finish the trip with $297 left in your wallet. And there you have it. You've just driven across the country and learned earned value management along the way. Hopefully, this journey helped make those intimidating formulas come to life in a way that's easy to remember. Maybe next time you plan a real road trip, you'll even find yourself thinking in EVM. Here's a question. You learned 4 methods of calculating estimate at completion. Which one is your preferred method for predicting the total cost of the trip, and why? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this fun learning adventure, give this video a like, share it with your classmates, and subscribe to PMAspirant for more engaging project management videos. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.